Hey, it's Golden Buddha here, and today I am here with part 3 of ESRT. I know it's been a long time coming. If you haven't seen part 1 and part 2, I suggest you go back and check those out. I'll put links to them down below and right here. Part 3 takes place after we're done. We've graduated from the academy. We are officially a part of ESRT now. It's fucking great, and we're all celebrating. Chris, the DM, he asks everybody like what they're doing. He asks Ice, oh, what are you doing in your apartment? And Ice is like, just drinking with my GF, chilling, relaxing. He's like, hey, what's Jet doing? And I'm just like, he's just talking with his daughter, trimming his bonsai trees, eating some chicken, typical shit. Miller, however, is doing something a little bit funnier. He was explaining conspiracy theories to his girlfriend, and he was explaining why they want to take the farm away from his cousin Cletus. And I'm like, oh, your girlfriend Patricia, she sounds like a bitch. and everyone's just like, whoa, how do you jump to that conclusion? Arthur, he ends up drinking at a bar, the Golden Bear Bar, and we get the order to report to the 2nd District in Little China at 7 a.m. And so, he asks us, he's like, hey, what are you doing to get ready for the next day and all that? Everybody does their usual routine, Next day, everybody shows up for work at the district, ready to do whatever the fuck it is we need to do. Except for Takeda. I think Takeda's player was having troubles like logging in or something with his computer. But Chris kind of played it. He was just like, oh no, you're late. So he was just like, oh, what do you have to say for yourself? And Takeda was just like, well, it's not going to happen again. He was like, all right. So everybody starts heading to the briefing room so we can get briefed. Jet starts talking with Ice, and he's like, oh man, so many young faces in here. I'm probably the oldest guy in here. And Chris kind of blurts out, he's like, yeah, no, you are. And we all get a good chuckle out of that. So Sergeant Brown starts giving out orders. He starts handing out orders to everybody. Except us. We're kind of like the last ones there. Because, we're the other guys. And there's a few C-SWAT members in there. So I'm like, what do those C-SWAT members look like? And Chris proceeds to describe them, just 2 cybered up, big ass brolic white dudes. One of them has a cyber eye. He's looking at us out of the corner of his cyber eye, like it's going over to us, but he's looking at Brown, but the cyber eye is looking at us. And I'm like, oh, it's kind of creepy. So then one of the C-SWAT officers, he kind of looks at Sergeant Brown. He's like, yo, you're sending these guys, these mooks, these fucking guys out there instead of us? And so at that, Arthur and Jet kind of like raise their eyebrows, kind of like, hey, what do you mean? These fucking guys. And obviously they notice us. They're like, what you mean these fucking guys? I said what I said. And we're just like, oh shit, but we're not about to get into nothing because Sergeant's right there. Nobody's really trying to get in trouble. It's just like we just kind of sizing each other up and shit. So of course the 2 guys leave. They go do C-SWAT shit. They leave us to our own devices. And out of character, Ice, he's like, is he going cyber psycho? And Arthur's like, if he is, that's not gonna be good for us. And Jet's just like, and we're all just kind of like, bro, we hope we don't have to fight these guys later. Like, let's just hope they're good guys. Let's hope they don't have too much cyber in them and they don't go crazy. Let's just hope. Meanwhile, while we're kind of freaking out, Takeda's just in the background like, bro, I wish you would, bro. He's just like, bro, I will fold you. Because Takeda's player, this man, he always wants to smoke. And he always builds his characters to be very fucking powerful. So, but we didn't know that then. This is one of our first games together. We didn't really know how much of a power gamer Takeda's player was. So Brown tells us, hey, you're going to be heading down corporate town, the corporate side of town. And we need you to do some investigation, all of you. And we need you to keep us in the loop and be on the DL about this, okay? Don't go telling anybody that doesn't need to know. Okay, don't. We need to know, and that's it. It's on a need to know basis. That's it. So then we head into the locker room to go suit up and get our gear. And Ice immediately, he's like, bro, it smells like ass in here. Just straight balls and sweat. It's terrible. And as we begin to suit up, we see all sorts of heads up displays coming up in our helmets. The suit is very form-fitting. And then Ice goes, he's like, yeah, this is some nice shit right here. He's like, this is a lot better than what we got in hostage negotiation. So the helmets have a kind of built-in voice recognition. So the helmet asks us in like a British lady voice, what would you like to be called? And so everybody kind of gives their name. And then Ice, he's like, can I change the voice settings on this? And Chris is like, you son of a bitch. I'm not doing that. And he's like, hold on, just let me look up the funniest voice I can find. While they're doing that, Sergeant Brown walks in and says, all right, you are ESRT Team 1, also known as Baby 1. And at that, we're just like, are you serious? Are you really fucking serious right now? Baby 1? And everyone's just kind of like, murmuring, just like, man, I don't want to be Baby 1. I'm like, you know what? That's fine, because when we do some missions and we get better, eventually we will become boss babies. After that little segue, Sergeant Brown starts to give us our mission. He tells us that we're going to be meeting with a SegaAtari representative in the corporate zone, and we'll be heading there today. Apparently her son has went missing, and she's trying to be very discreet about it. She doesn't want to make like a big fuss about it, so that's why we're going there personally. And at that, Arthur kind of pipes up and he says, hey, is this going to be like off the books? Sergeant Brown just kind of just like, this guy. And then Jet chimes in and he's like, hey, well, if it was off the books, we wouldn't be suiting up. And Sergeant Brown's like, I see you've been around a bit. But yes, that is correct. Everybody just kind of starts asking general questions, but Sergeant Brown, he's like, hey, you all need to go there and speak with her. She has all the details. She's going to give you what you need to know. Anything else, you don't need to know. And so we're like, okay, cool. All right, mission accepted. So we all kind of pair off as we make our way to the location. Jet and Ice start riding together. Constantine and Miller pair off and get in the same car. Takeda, however, is like, Sergeant Brown, would it be okay if I requested a motorcycle? And Sergeant Brown's like, I don't know, you did show up late today. And Takeda's like, I'm just trying to save on fuel costs, sir. Save on some chew-too. And so Chris busts out laughing. He's like, you know what? I'll give you that one. Yeah, you get the motorcycle. So after a short, uneventful ride, we all make our way to the SegaAtari headquarters in Night City. And at that, when Chris name drops SegaAtari, Arthur's like, wait, excuse me? SegaAtari? Do we know what they do? And Chris is like, yeah, no, they make weapons, video games, and robotics. And so we all start joking about like how this is the universe where Sega won the console wars, and and that's how they won it. They just started making weapons and killing off the Nintendo execs. So basically, we go up to the headquarters and we're trying to get in the building. And then there's these 3 corporate cops, these fucking douchebags. They're just standing outside. They start looking us up and down, trying to check us. They're just like, hey man, I don't know where you from, but in the corporate zone, we do shit differently. And we're just like, all right, bro, whatever. Whatever, man. We're not going to cause any trouble. We're here for a mission that we can't tell you about. So can we go by? And they're just like, yeah. So after we get inside, a secretary comes up to our group and says, oh, so you were the police that we're expecting here today? And everybody's like, yeah, pretty much. And she leads us all the way upstairs to the top of the building, like to one of the higher levels, because this is a massive like 10 to 20 story building. It's just big, just huge. So then the secretary starts telling us who we're going to be meeting, a Bethany thong suck. And at that, Arthur kind of sniggles and he's like, did you say thong suck? And the secretary's like, yes, Thong Suck. It's a traditional Thai name. I would think you'd be more open to different people's cultures. And, you know, Jet just shakes his head like, And Arthur's player's like, wait, no, I didn't mean to say it in character. Wait, no. And everybody's like, nah, bruh. Nah, you already said it. The secretary tells us not to kind of make any sudden movements around our face because Bethany doesn't like that. And she says, hey, just be patient with her because, you know, she's in a bad way. And so we get in the elevator and we start going up. After we finally get to the floor that we're supposed to be on, secretary, she leads us to the double doors. And she's like, okay, guys, I need you guys to just chill out. Don't try anything. She has a security team and all that stuff on standby. And I need everybody's badge numbers. And so everybody, you know, gives their badge numbers. And she goes back to the elevator and leaves. We hear a voice tell us to come in. And obviously stressed out Bethany, telling us to just, you know, come on, hurry in. You know, after we announce ourselves as ESRT. And we look around her room. You know, she's got a nice fireplace off to the left, a little bit of drink sitting over there, with some couches next to it. There's like several data screens on her desk, you know, trailing information of God knows what, and 3 massive windows behind her desk, kind of like so she can look out at at Night City. Bethany proceeds to tell us how her son Campbell has been missing for a little bit. She also tells us how she hasn't actually seen him in 6 years, which that immediately set off like several red flags in my head. I'm just like, okay, well, she hasn't seen him in 6 years. And then she starts explaining to us how Campbell's dad actually has custody of him. And we're just like, okay. And when we start asking her like how her son looks, she's even having trouble describe him. And so in my mind, I'm just like, wow, she's just a terrible mother. So we find out that Campbell's father, Lucas, lives in Darkwood Apartments, and that Campbell, he's about 20-something, so he doesn't go to school. And surprisingly, he's an edge runner. So then Ice is like, well, what kind of edge running does he do, and what does the father do? So Bethany says, well, I don't know what kind of edge running my son does, but the father, he's basically just a tech worker. Arthur asks if maybe would Lucas have any enemies? And Bethany replies, well, he's not important enough to have enemies. And Arthur's like, well, do you have any enemies that would try to get revenge on you, maybe? And so she just looks at him, just like, Then she kind of just drops a bomb on us that nobody knows that Campbell is actually her son. Well, nobody used to know, because now all of us know that. And she really wants to keep this under wraps. And she starts to explain like how Lucas kept Campbell from her, and he doesn't know about her, and he erased her from her son's life. And Miller kind of steps up. He's like, hey, I'm really sorry to hear that. She's like, I don't want your sympathy. I need you to find my son. So she proceeds to tell us that SegaAtari has invested quite a bit in Night City Police, and now she needs to see some returns on that investment. She's kind of doing the whole, oh, well, we own you, we bought you kind of type deal. So she may cut the funding that SegaAtari is giving to Night City Police. That's pretty big. So we pry a little bit more, and Bethany tells us that her son may have a friend that he hangs out with named Jack, and they frequent this net arcade, basically. And also that Lucas, and by extension Campbell, may be involved with this church, the Church of Human Love. And so it's just like, the Church of Human Love? Can I roll general knowledge to figure out about them? And of course Chris is like, yeah, of course, go ahead. And we figure out that it's some kind of like pro-humanist church, anti-augmentation church. Because in any cyberpunk setting or transhumanist setting, they always got to have that one faction that's just like, oh, we hate augmentation for no fucking reason, or for religious reasons that are, it's just bad. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. The point is, they may be involved with this church/cult, and we need to find her son. That was our mission. So Takeda asks, hey, do you have any pictures of your son so we can kind of have something to go off of? And Bethany hands him a picture of Campbell. Then Arthur jumps in. He's like, hey, is there any relationships that Lucas might have had? And so she proceeds to tell us like, oh yeah, he has 2 kids from another marriage. Arthur just like, oh, well, do you know where they are? And she's like, I really don't give a fuck about them. And Arthur's like, whoa, no need to get all hostile. And then she starts like tearing into him. She's like, hey, shut up. I need you to find my kid. And she basically kicks us the fuck out after that. So then we start going to the elevator. And inside the elevator, we start coalescing all of the theories and ideas that we kind of have about this. You know, so I post my notes that I was like scribbling down on a little note card. Arthur's like, what? The kid's name is Campbell? And then Chris is like, no, his name's Caleb. And I'm like, where the fuck did I get Campbell from then? And he was like, I have no idea. And then Takeda's like, well, I heard Campbell. I was like, okay, good. I'm not crazy. And so basically the kid's name is actually Caleb, and he's not a kid. He's 23. He's a grown-ass man, basically. We start kind of throwing around ideas, and Chris starts telling us a little bit more about the Church of Human Love and how they're not necessarily radicals, but a lot of radicals against augmentation have come from their numbers. So they're kind of on a watch list, basically. Then Arthur, he suggests like, hey, maybe we should call the office of the father and make sure he's there. And so Jet's like, well, maybe we should show up there in person and kind of like split up into teams so we could get more done faster. And Arthur's like, well, why don't we just call and see if he's there? And it's just like, well, because a cop calling you and a cop showing up at your workplace are 2 different things. And also we can kind of do the whole, hey, I'm a cop, let me in thing, even though we don't have warrants. And cops in Cyberpunk have this ability called authority, which is where they can pretty much just use their authority to do stuff. It's kind of vague, but usually it has to deal with like either intimidation or interrogation sometimes. Like it's kind of up to DM interpretation. So eventually he's like, yeah, you know what, that makes sense. Yeah, we can drive up to his office. So who's driving to his office? And then before we even do that, Ice is like, wait, can we eat? Like, cause I don't think we've had anything to eat so far. And Jet's like, you know, I could go for some tacos. So Ice and Jet drive off to the nearest Taco Bell. Ice is like, hey man, let me get the taco box. And of course we make our obligatory Taco Bell ain't shit jokes, you know, oh, Taco Bell, they're actually selling biological weapons. Oh, Taco Bell will give you the shits. You know, just typical stuff, typical Taco Bell lore. So then Ice starts asking, he's like, hey, I want the biological weapon taco box, that number 14 right there. The 16-year-old girl who's working there, she's like, I don't know what you're talking about, sir. I really don't know. We don't have any biological weapons on our menu, in here, or anything. Ice just starts going in. He's just like, hey, I didn't ask for lip. I asked for the number fucking 14, okay? That's what I need right now. It's like, what the hell? What's going on here? And so, you know, she's like, okay, all right, okay. And she's like recording him with her cyber eyes. And it's very obvious that she is recording him. And so Jet's just kind of sitting by, face palming, just like, oh, come on, Ice. Not over tacos. And then Arthur's player is like, hey, am I there? And we're just like, no, you're not there. Because he's one of those guys who always has to like butt into a scene. So we're just like, no, you're not there, man. You're in a car. It's some other place because we all kind of split up. Jet proceeds to grab Ice and try to pull him out of this terrible situation he's created. Chris is like, okay, well, Ice, are you going to resist? And he's like, nah, but I do want to roll persuasion to kind of see if I can persuade her to delete the video. Chris says, yeah, of course you can roll persuasion. Roll it. It's gonna be real difficult though. Ice rolls it. 27. Which, again, if you don't know Cyberpunk, if you don't know how the resolution system works, 25 is basically like supposed to be like, oh, you shouldn't be able to do this type shit. You know, like 25 is like one of the best results you could get. Even 20 is actually very good. The DCs are like go up in like increments of 5. So yeah, he clears it. And he proceeds to tell, you know, this Taco Bell worker, it's like, hey, I've really had a bad day. Like, it was just rough and I'm sorry. The girl walks up to Ice while Jet kind of just like has him like with his cyber arm and just like dragging him to the car. And she puts her hand on him and is just like, you know, I get it. I get it. People treat me like shit here too, and you guys probably have a very rough job. I'll delete the video, okay? And as she says this, it wasn't really like a huge moment. I mean, it was funny because, he cussed out the Taco Bell worker. But to me, it was a very important moment in the game because Cyberpunk is not a world that is known for its empathy. Like, most people you meet in Night City are going to be some variation of asshole or people who kind of are looking out for themselves. It was a really good moment, even though it was a very short moment. Ice and Jet proceed to get back in the car and drive off into Night City. And that is where our story will end for now. But don't worry. Next episode, you'll hear all about the investigation and these different locations we go to as we try to figure out the mystery of where the hell is Bethany's son and what is he really involved in. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Don't forget to hit that bell icon, and as always, this is Golden Buddha telling you to stay enlightened and stay safe.